So there's a lot of talk about Amad Diallo, and it seems like the fan base have again. Well, I wouldn't say the whole fan base. I'll say just I don't know, just a few people in the fan base have decided that he's going to be the new scapegoat. Him and Kobe Mainu, and they're the guys that we're going to look to maybe start, saying they're the reasons we're not doing so well. We had it with Martial, we had it with Paul Pogba, we had it with Marcus Rashford, and it looks like Ahmad and Kobe Mainu are the new, I don't know, fall guys for the reason United are not doing well, trying to pave over the cracks with the fact and the reality is that we have a crazy manager in Ruben Amorim who's playing everyone out of position. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Let's get into the show. Welcome to my YouTube channel, moosareacts. So, guys, there's been a lot of conversations going on about, you know, Amad Diallo and the fact that after the game with Chelsea, he took a picture with Garnacho after they swapped shirts. And because of that, he's had to delete all of his Instagram posts and stories, etc., etc. I think a lot of the fan base are a bit ungrateful and have forgot and have short memories that last season there wasn't a lot of people who could actually be proud in terms of their performances for Man United, especially when we're finishing 15th and we're losing the Europa League final to Spurs. But if there was anybody who could have argued their own case in terms of their performances and what they did for United last season, it would have been Amad Diallo. Countless games that he saved us, countless last-minute goals like the one against City or the hat-trick he scored against Southampton. And that's just a few, but there was countless games last season that Amad Diallo saved us and actually made the scoreline or the game look better than it actually was when we were just terrible throughout the whole game. And if it wasn't for those individual brilliant moments that he showed up, United wouldn't have finished even 15th, dare I say it. We were in a relegation battle. And I feel like being 5-6 games into the new season and all of this panic about, he's not good, he's this, he's that, he's a part of the bomb squad and, he should leave with Garnacho and Rashford and the rest of them. Where's all that coming from? I would like to give the fan base a benefit of the doubt and say that these are a lot of rival fans that come into all the social media spaces on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, wherever it may be, and they infiltrate our channels and our pages and they try to stir up this type of problem. But in reality, there's also a lot of Man United fans who have this opinion and have a lot to say about, Diallo. But in reality, Diallo hasn't done any worse than Cunha. He hasn't done any worse than Mbumo. He hasn't done any worse than Sesko. He hasn't done any worse than any attacking player in this formation that's been put together with this system. Not the formation. The formation is not the issue here. It's the system and how Amorim wants to play the formation and how he sees it. No attacking player has done well for Man United. No midfield player has done well for Man United. The only people that could say, who are continually being player of the match, done well, is what? It's the defenders. It's Dorgu, who is a left back playing wing back. It's the centre backs with Delit. It's Euro. It's these guys that are actually having good games week in, week out, who we're saying are a standout player. And that's the defence. As far as the midfield's gone, there ain't no standout players in the middle of the park, and there's no standout players in the forward positions. And Amad Diallo joins one of those forward positions because, again, he's playing out of position as a right wing back when we all know that he should be in a more forward position on the wing or in the 10. And yes, someone's going to say, oh, well, he's been playing the 10 in the last couple of games. Yes, he has, but he's alternating between the 10 and the wing back, the 10 and the wing back, and he's trying to find his feet. I'm not worried about Amad Diallo, and the reason I'm not worried about him because we know that he's a class player and he's a talented player, and class and talent always rises to the top. The biggest issue I have is that the system that we're playing at hand and the manager that we have can create enough, and like I said, we will pay for last year's sins. We will pay for last year's sins, meaning that you can't do as bad as we did last year finish 15th, lose the Europa League final, and then 2 months after in the new season, 2.5 months, summer break, you start a new season and you think that much is going to change in 2.5 months. No, the sins of last seasons will show up this season, and you will see us struggle to beat teams and struggle to maintain ourselves. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have, and that's again on Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim finds himself in a difficult position because he's not going to change, and he knows if he changes now after all of this palaver that he's created around changing, he's going to look weak, and the players are going to see him as a weak manager. And two, he's just created so much of a bad influence and a bad consistent level of performance at United, is that I think the mountain is too high for him to climb. We're sitting here, 3 points off second, and it doesn't feel like that. And that's another problem, because as a United fan and as United fans, we find ourselves 3 points off second, but no one feels like we are 3 points off second. No one is confident with our manager and our team and the system that we're playing, to be foolish enough to be relaxed and be like, oh yeah, we only, 3 points off second, so we're comfortable, all right. But we know that we're not. We know that it's not the whole picture. We know that within a couple of games, we can go from being 3 points off to 9 points off, and then struggling to maintain, a gap, or to, struggling to maintain that distance and create a shorter distance between us and the top four. So I think the owners, I think Ineos have a lot to think about. I think they have a lot to decide. I feel like the fact that we are only 3 points off the top two, or I should say second, Arsenal, who got 10 points and I believe we got 7, we should be counting ourselves lucky and be prepared to make the switches that we need to give a new manager a chance to actually keep in distance of the top 4 and hopefully getting it, because we're hoping that we can reach January transfer window within distance of the top 4, top 5, and that's just hoping. But we know that if we don't make the right decisions, if we're not brave enough, we can also find ourselves 10 points out of the top 4 and just fighting to stay in the middle of the league, and looking behind us thinking, are we going to drop? So I don't know. There's a lot, and I think a lot of the things keep on stemming back and keep on going back to the manager, how he wants to play this system, and how now it's having fans look at players like Amad Diallo again. As I've started this show with, Amad is not the problem. It's not the problem. Anyone who thinks Amad is the problem, I can't help you. You just can't be helped. If you can look at the quality of player that he is, the talent that he is, and what he done last season, and to see that our new signings have not done well. No attacking player has done well. But somehow you want to pinpoint him out as the person to be upset with. Make it make sense. How? I get it if, Cunha's flying and Bumo's flying, Sesko's flying, midfielders are doing well, and then Amad's just looking out of sorts. They're all looking out of sorts. So where do we go with that? That's the issue. That's the problem. And I feel, again, it all stems back to the manager. It all goes back to the manager. And then you have a manager who somehow finds minutes for Mason Mount, continues to find minutes for Mason Mount. How is Mason Mount getting minutes in this Man United team? How does that work? How does he get minutes in his favourite position? What is it that Amorim sees? And game after game, start after start, we look at the 11 that Amorim picks for games, and everyone's shocked. Even the 11 going into the Chelsea game, it was like, flipping it, we've lost the game. And if it's not for Chelsea getting a red card early on, we're struggling. And guess what? As soon as it got balanced off and Casemiro came off, what happened? We struggled. And had Maresca not been a coward and took off all of his attacking players, Chelsea would have got something out of the game. 100%. If he would have kept Palmer on, they would have got something out of the game. But he panicked. And he just wanted to salvage a draw, if that. And I feel like that allowed us to to get an advantage in the game and actually, try to hold on to the advantage that we had in the first half. But as soon as that advantage went, you could see Man United, we had 20-something% possession in the second half, 22, 23. We weren't in the game second half. And that's because it just balanced off 10 versus 10. We only look good when a player gets sent off. That's when all of a sudden we start looking good. We saw that in the Europa League last year. When players got sent off, all of a sudden we find spaces, we look good. And I just feel like, again, I would love for Amorim to finish in the top 5 and get sacked. I don't want to change managers halfway through the season. I'm not an advocate for that. But if it gets out of hand and it looks like it's a drastic measure that has to be taken, then I'm all for it, take the measure. But I would love for Amorim to actually somehow, because outside the top 4, no one's really good. No one's doing anything excellent. We saw, Arsenal versus City yesterday, and City were holding on. City went there, got in front, and then said, yeah, we're going to defend and we're going to hold on. Nobody's actually, Liverpool haven't played well, but somehow they've got 5 in 5. I couldn't, if you told me what's the best football inside this season so far in these first 6 games, I'll be pressed to just say Liverpool because they've got 5 out of 5. But in reality, when you look at the games, they shouldn't be in a 5 out of 5. Like, they were lucky against Newcastle because of the sending off. But Newcastle played very well that game, even with the 10 men. There's been numerous games that Liverpool have actually been lucky and they've left it till a lot late to get the win, and they haven't looked that good. But just because you're pressed to make an opinion on who's played the best football this season, you would say them, and they're not been. Come on, guys, everyone's watching what I'm watching. They haven't been great, so there isn't no one really running away football-wise with the league. Other than that, Liverpool's running away with it because they've collected the points. So that tells me there's hope. There's hope for United if Ineos is brave enough to make the right decision. If they sit back and they say, you know what, Amorim, I don't think you can do it. Be brave. Even if it's Amorim, you might be able to do it, but the fact that it's might and the odds are not for us, we're going to just let you go and start again and get a better odds in terms of finishing in the top 4. And I would understand that because there ain't a fan that can come and tell me that they're relaxed, they're comfortable, and they believe that United will finish in the top 4, in the top 5. We're all hoping, and what makes it worse is that our best players are not doing well. And then that takes me on to Kobe Mainoo. Kobe Mainoo was one of our best players against City when he come on. Kobe Mainoo, whenever he comes on, we see that what we're missing in the middle of the park, someone that can carry the ball, someone that can put his foot on the ball, and this is not to say that Kobe is the answer to everything, but we're just saying he's better than what's starting on the pitch. He adds more to the team than what's starting on the pitch. So again, you have 2 talented young players who, for me, are good enough to actually play in the position of the 10s in terms of Kobe can do what Cunha does. Cunha, again, I'm telling you guys, he hasn't assisted or scored this season. He's shown glimpse of what he's capable. It's just glimpse. Kobe can do what Cunha can do in the left 10. We saw it all last season. Ahmad can do what Mbumo does in the right 10. We saw all that last season. And I'm not here to say that Kobe's better than Cunha and Ahmad's better than Mbumo, but they can do what both those players can do. Then you save that 150 million that you spent on those 2, and you go and get Wharton, you go and get Baleba, and you have now a young team at United of Kobe, Ahmad, Wharton, Baleba, and you having a manager who's ready to give these young players a chance to build. Because how worse can it get? 15th? It's going to get worse than 15th? How worse can it get? Do you know what I'm trying to say? But at least now you have that. We're not here talking about what's happening in the middle of the park, and we're not having those issues. And that's just another conversation because, again, I think Ineos done well. They changed the whole back line last in their first window. They've changed the whole front line in their second window, and I'm guessing in the third window they're going to change the whole midfield. But I think the reason they've gone to the front line before they went to the midfield, that was a preference of Amorim. They were like, we're going to change it either way, but which one do you prefer? If you think you need more midfielders, we'll get you midfielders and do what you can with what you got up front. If you think you need new strikers, but you can do what you can with the midfield, then we'll do that. And I think that's what happened. Amorim was more in need of a new attack in his mind than he was of a midfield. But Ineos were always going to do it anyway. It just depended in which order. Because Amorim's like, keep Bruno Fernandes. We don't need the 100 million. He's my man in the 6-8 position. Where that was the problem. And this is why when people say, oh, Ruben Amorim's been let down, he hasn't been supplied. No, he has. He's been given a whole new backline, new goalkeeper. We got a new goalkeeper. We got Heaven. We got Euro. We've got Dalit. We've got Mazraoui. All of these players are from last window. That's a whole new back four, and we just got a goalkeeper in. That's new. We've got a new front three of Sesko and Buma and Cunha. And Zertsky came last window. Do you know what I mean? Ugarte came the window as well before that, last window as well. So a lot of these players are new. The ones that are old that have stayed here are the ones that Amorim wants. Bruno Fernandes, he wants him. We got Dorgu in as well. I just forgot. The players that are still here, Amorim wants them. Had he not wanted Bruno Fernandes, we would have had Baleba at the club. We would be seeing a midfield right now of Baleba and Kobe Mainoo behind a new front three. No doubts about it. But this manager wanted to keep Bruno Fernandes, and they allowed him to do that to give him a chance to actually succeed at the club. And that was the wrong decision to make. And that's why we find ourselves in the problems that we find ourselves right now. So that's crazy. And a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Baleba, man? Baleba's not doing too well. Yeah, I get it. But that's because obviously his head's been turned with the fact that he was linked to United, and he knows United really wanted him and we wanted to get it over the line. And as a young player who, has had one of his biggest, opportunities, coming from where he's come from, to be in the Premier League and to be linked with a club like Man United and knowing that they really wanted you and they wanted to make you an important player, that will distract anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? If one of you lot heard that you were offered crazy money to leave your job and your current job didn't tell you or they turn it down, how many of you would be doing well at work? A lot of you would be like, flipping it, what, I was just offered, 3-4 times what I'm earning now? And I'm stuck in this place. But before you hear that, you think where you are is the place to be. You're like, yeah, it's cool, I'm at what, you know what I mean? As soon as you hear there's something new and better, it just rubs anyone up the wrong way. So I'm not worried about Baleba, and I'm hoping that we can go in back for him in January and get him at a good price. But again, what's happening at United? What are we doing here? What have we learned from the game against Chelsea that we didn't already know? Amorim's stubborn. Amorim's not going to change for nobody. He's going to continue to pick players that, just make every single one of us scratch our heads and be like, how the heck is he starting? He's going to continue to play Mount if he's there. We might see a false nine and Mount start again the next game. How many things did we learn that we didn't know already? This is Amorim. This is what Amorim does. So I feel for me now, I'm not going to be on here talking about Amorim needs to leave, Amorim needs to go. I think that's clear for everyone. It's clear. If the Ineos want to give him a chance, the board want to give him a chance, it's up to them. We'll ride it out until it gets to that point. But I've made my decision on him a long time ago. The minute that he made those decisions in the Europa League final and he didn't get that over the line, and I'm watching a team that finished 17th in Spurs turn up in the Champions League and turn up in the Prem and do well, and they haven't actually brought anyone in. They haven't sold a load of players, but we've got people from our fan base that have got channels talking about, well, we finished 15th and the manager hasn't been supported in the middle of the park, even though he kept Bruno Fernandes, who we could have got 100 million for, if not 80, 90 million, but we could have got good money for him. And I've seen a manager come in at Spurs who finished lower than us, and they're playing Champions League football, and they're playing well in the Premier League, and they're playing a similar system, or they're playing the same formation of us, but in a totally different system. It just tells me everything I need to know. It tells me everything I need to know about Ruben Amorim in terms of that he's not the man to get us over the line. He's had plenty of time here at the club. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Frank just got to Spurs. But we're seeing what they're able to do and how they're able to play their formation and how they perceive how he perceives the system. and the directions and what he wants to get out of that system, or that formation, I should say, and how they are able to then develop their system on the pitch. Then we see the same formation in Ruben Amorim, and the system's totally different. What he wants his players to do, putting them in compromising positions, allowing it and making it easier for the opposition to press us. All of these things that we're seeing is just, for me, it's not helping. And I think just going over it and go over it and complaining about it's not going to make a difference. But what I will say to the fan base is just, Ahmad is one of our better players playing out of position. It won't be long till we get a new manager in and we won't have this issue. But take your time on these young players and, putting so much pressure on them when nobody's doing well in this system. Nobody. Like, no one can show me anyone and say, oh yeah, this player's doing what nobody's doing. Everyone's struggling in the system. And it shows because we go, Chelsea go a man down and we don't exert ourselves on the opposition. We don't make the extra man count, where we just total outplay them and let them know that the game's done. We give them hope. We allow them to believe that there's still something in the game for them. That's the system, and that's Ruben Amorim. So, I don't know, guys. And I don't think anything's going to change anytime soon, and we just got to accept that. Yeah. Let's see if we can get to January. Let's see if we can get there in distance of the top four, in touching distance. If we can get to January and we're one game out of the top four, 3 points off the top four, then there's hope to say that we can get a player in and maybe try and push and get in there. If we're getting to January, guys, and we're like 9 points, 10 points off, Ineos are going to regret it, and it's going to be harder to rebuild and harder to get us to the next step, rather than making the change that we need to make now. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to share. I'm out until the next one. See you then.